They are playing in reverse. They're great, man. Rob
It's cold
Browne.
out. They can't even think right. It's cold outside.
I'm in Memphis. Brendan's in Ocala, Florida. And folks, look, no need to panic. We might get 8 inches. We could get 12 to 15 inches here in the Mid-South Memphis area.
Well, come on down to Florida. We'll keep you warm. We'll keep you warm down here.
Nashville's looking at maybe 20 plus inches. Knoxville, even more. But man, I tell you what, duck season goes till January 31st. We got guys hunting today. It's going to be a great lot to talk about. Look, football season, the CFP championship game was Monday night. There is so much to talk about. The players, the coaches, the fans, and guys like Brendan and me, Oakley, Jake, all of our guests, we work year-round to bring you the best content. We don't take days off. This is a passion. Look, do us a favor. Take a picture with your cell phone, with the camera there, okay? Be cool. And we are live streaming 8 channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And look, y'all know us. You know me. You know Brendan. You're going to know Oakley, Jake. Share and like this show. I cannot tell you enough. All of you in sales, fee-based business, annuitize your book. That's what we do. We need your help to do that. It means so much. Brendan's putting out,
comments. Stop texting Rob.
Yeah,
I know that, but comment and like and share and follow and subscribe. It's all free.
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, and it's all about bikes, man. That's my man Tommy right there at Poplar and Mendenhall by the Half Shell Chick-fil-A. Get out there. If you need a bike, go to All About Bikes. They're the best people, the knowledgeable people, very fair pricing. And look, let me say something too. We got Jake Wimberly, ESPN 105.9, The Afternoon Drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Oakley McFerrin, the intern from the Rolling Plains of Dixie in Auburn. We've got Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas. Man, he is good. God, he really knows his topics. And Vince Ferrara, 99.1, the sports animal up in Knoxville. So let's bring everybody in here right now. Get started. Right now, you say, well, Indiana, yeah, they won the CFP. But it's like, you ever know this is a fact. And Jake is going to be in here with us. I'm going to say this now. A cheetah can run about 65 to 70 miles an hour. When they catch an impala, a gazelle, a dick kick or whatever, and they kill it, they're so tired, the oxygen in their blood from running that fast, it takes them a long time to recover before they can eat it. And the other animals come take it from them all the time. That's what winning a national championship is like. Indiana won it. Brendan, you talked about it before the show. Oakley, you're writing a dissertation in school about it. How hard it is to stay on top. You know, getting there it's an incredible journey. Now Kurt Cignetti, nobody is going to sleep on Indiana. And you know what? The Big Ten now 3 national championships in a row. Did we lose Jake? I guess he'll come back.
Jake's he's trying to get his camera to work.
But Oakley,
Jake, if you hear us, try to come back in.
Oakley, you think about it, 3 national championships in a row. And I'm going to say this for the record, the SEC is not dead. SEC is probably now going to double down, triple down on getting back on top. Agree or disagree, Dr. McFerrin?
Yeah, I think the top 4 to 5 of the Big Ten may be better than the SEC right now, but top to bottom, the SEC is still the best conference and probably will be always the best conference just because it's the most invested in winning. People care about it the most down here, and the draft proves it every year. We're going to have 50 more people drafted than any other conference. I can guarantee that. And I think the best conference where the best players are playing.
Wait, you think about the NFL teams looking around. Indiana, there are probably 6 or 7 guys on that team that are going to get drafted.
Yeah, and look where where do the coaches want to coach? That's what I want to say. Like where do you see the coaches going? I'm going to stay here at Tulane, or I'm going to take my shot. Lane Kiffin's even going to go. I'm going to leave Ole Miss and I'm going to go to LSU because it's a better SEC opportunity.
Did y'all see that guy on Twitter? He's like Debbie Downer, talking about the SEC, the decline. He goes, their coaches are cannibalizing each other. They're going from one school to the next. Hey, that's happened before. Go back and when Doug Dickey in Florida and Tennessee and all that stuff, Tommy Tuberville to Auburn in a pine box until he wasn't. And now Lane Kiffin to LSU. But you didn't see Lane Kiffin going to Ohio State. They don't need a coach yet. You didn't see him going to Michigan. By the way, the hire of Sharon Moore was a lazy hire.
Which, by the way, Rob, just to say that, look at Urban Meyer. Look at his ability to go, from conference to conference. I think that's what makes him an extraordinary coach to me, in a little bit different way than a Saban does. And I know we talk about him all the time, but you just mentioned that point. I just think that's a good point.
Well, 187-32, Oakley. Think about it. Dave Bartu says, Urban Meyer goes to Bowling Green. They start winning immediately. He goes to Utah. They start winning immediately. He goes to Florida. They start winning immediately. Oak, SEC top to bottom 1 through 16 right now, football. Kind of tell me some storylines that you're seeing, because you got a mind that is really, really strong, and you see things that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, I think the key now, like we've mentioned multiple times in the show, is experience wins nowadays. So for me, coming into next year, I'm looking at what team's starting quarterback is returning next year. That's where I'm going to start, and I think you've got that with Texas A&M, and Georgia. So those would be my top three going into next season, and those are also three that have big time money and went out in the portal and filled some gaps. Because a team like Texas, you couldn't argue they weren't a top 10 team at the end of the year last year, and now they just got better, getting a top 3 portal class.
All right, how many of the SEC schools, looking at it, and Jake's going to be right back with us, Texas really went out and spent money. But money is not the solution to it, because if you go back, my scale that I always use, 1970 to the present, how many national championships has the entire state of Texas collectively won?
Well, you heard Mark Cuban talk about it. He said we can't just go out and start spending and buying on all these players, because at one point you lose your team identity, because the rest of the people in your locker room see that, and you lose your team identity. And that's the most important thing in college football right now. You have to have control of your locker room and guys that want to win.
Yeah, it is absolutely true. There's a saying a friend of mine told me years ago at work, and it's not about Republican, Democrat, anything like that. It's about politics in the office. It said, stay out of politics and stay in production. Great advice, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you see who produces, not how many stars they have, not how many, whatever, all the highlights they have. It's who produces on the field. And really, when it comes down to the fourth quarter, Fernando Mendoza, he may not be the most talented guy, but he goes up there and gets the job done, fights those extra 3 yards. And that's the type of guy you want on your team and leading your team.
Yeah. Oh, no question. I mean, his whole story. I told Buddy last night, and Lauren on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows right here on this channel, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. I said, we all fell in love with college football again. I had not lost the love, but there are a lot of people, God love them, and I hear from them, they just look for the negative. I wake up in the morning, it's raining. I go, damn, I got a lot of great hunting gear, a lot of great rain gear. I'm going to get ahead. I'm still going to get my run in or my ride in. I look at it as an opportunity. And I'm telling you, people, get the negative stuff out of your head. It doesn't work. College football, Tony Barnhart was on here Monday, Mr. College Football, actually yesterday, and talking about how much we love the game. You can't blame the 19 and 20-year-olds. Did they pass NIL? Did they do all this? Get off of the kids' asses. It's the adults that did this. They want to go along to get along, Oakley. You know damn well, as a kid, your mom and dad, you love them more than anything in the world, but you got structure, you got rules, and you got to stay in your lanes, don't you?
Yeah. And I think, everyone wants to blame these kids, but it's like any other job. If another job offers you $500K plus, especially at 18 years old, you're going to go take that job. It's not on these kids, not to mention all the 20 extended family members in their ear. Like, hey, can you do this for me and do that for me? So I think the NCAA has really got to get a hold of this and maybe stop at the upfront money so much. Yeah. And I think another cool aspect would be maybe win-based incentives for money instead of just, hey, you get $1 million here, you get $1 million there. And I think we really need to commit to the NFL model if we're going to do this, if we're going to treat them like NFL players, because it's players going to work now when they're getting paid. So I think some things you could do is you treat transfer portal like a free agency. That's how it is.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
got a lot of respect for Alex Golish at Auburn. He went in there and he looked at everybody's production sheets and was like, "We're paying you $750, and these are your last 2 years of production. We're going to offer you $250, and if you don't like it, where's the portal button? I'll hit it for you." With that said, drum roll, please. Let's bring in one of the best, civil engineer, Mississippi State University graduate, host of a great show every Monday through Friday afternoon, 3 to 6 p.m. in Jackson, Mississippi. ESPN 105.9. Put the app on your phone. Because it's like running 5 miles every day. It'll make you smarter and healthier. Jake, there's a momentary pause. We took off yesterday from college football, but we're right back. No, we had Tony Barnhart on. We didn't take off. But let's talk about now. It's never way too early to look ahead, but kind of your takeaways from Monday night and looking ahead to the coming year.
Yeah, and I apologize for the technical difficulty there. Brendan, always appreciate your help on that too. So technology, right? Trying to get your cameras working and everything. Hey, trying to keep things working. Miami had everything working right on Monday night until they didn't. Special teams was a big problem for them. Obviously, the missed field goal that oddly again hits the right upright, the punt block. Which what was interesting about that punt block is I don't think Indiana really had a punt block called on that. I think that basically they just gave up protection, and the guy that got the block. He got in and said, "Oh, wow, wait a minute, I'm in here, so let me go ahead and get it." So the special teams was a big problem. The penalties on third down on a drive twice killed Miami, and I think we all kind of said coming into this game that Miami could not make some of the mistakes they made against Ole Miss and get away with it against Indiana. That was the case. Now, they played extremely physical. A lot of people yesterday on my show and I saw on X complaining about the officiating. I didn't really have a problem with a lot of it. I felt like the officials let them play football. And I think we're so used to seeing flags on, pass interference calls. And, so now, we play this game of flag football. But I thought the game was fantastic personally. A couple of those penalties you probably could have called. But what a story for Indiana. And, now as you turn the page and look into this year, again, already resetting into 2026. I know you guys have probably talked about it, seen a lot of the preseason polls, way too early polls from CBS and On3 and others. But, you look at who is the favorite in Vegas. I think Ohio State will get the early nod. They already have, on BetMGM for next year. That would make sense. They'll be a player in this thing. Texas is really worked the transfer portal hard. I think they'll be a big player in this. And then, everybody's asking who's the next Indiana. Well, I don't know that there is the next Indiana, but I think a team like Texas Tech that continues to pour money into their program, they're not going anywhere. I think again, next year, you're going to be about 10 teams deep that can win this thing.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly, as we said last night, we've all fallen in love, those that fell off the wagon with college football again, because the Indiana story is so good. Oak, what Jake just said, take that and tell me a surprise team or two that in the SEC that you think is going to make a quantum leap forward next year on the positive side.
That's a very difficult question to answer with all the turnover we see each year. But I think we could see a big bounce back here from Tennessee. I would expect them to maybe win some more of those close big times games. Because if they win that Georgia game early on, which I think we all agree they should have won, I think their season's completely different, and they are probably in the playoffs. And outside of that, Alabama, obviously they made the playoffs, but with Keelan Russell, if he ends up winning that battle, that's one of the more talented quarterbacks they've ever had. So we could see them rise back to maybe the stardom we've seen Alabama at.
Jake, I think Keelan Russell out of Dallas, who was an SMU commit until he wasn't, may be the most highly rated quarterback Alabama's ever signed. But I'm going to go back to the preseason before the 21 season at Alabama. That offensive line class was regarded by a lot of smart Alabama people that I talked to on paper as the highest rated offensive line class ever signed at Alabama. And they didn't really turn out that good. Jake, the pressure now, and that's one of the themes of today. There are no more excuses after what Kurt Cignetti and Indiana have done. Bartu talks about the talent level at Indiana. It's like 33rd in the country. Arkansas about 34, Mississippi State 35 or 36. A lot of soul searching going on, but how short is that leash going to be for SEC coaches? Shorter than it was last year, if that's possible?
It could be, right? I think, And here's where it gets really tough for administrators, fan bases, coaches, is to have perspective and patience. And what I mean is this: Indiana was so rare, and Barty's absolutely right. I mean, they're sitting, think about this. Indiana won a championship on Monday night. They're the first team in the history of record keeping from 2002 up until now. That's BCS all the way through the college football playoff that won a national championship. When you look at their 4-year recruiting rankings leading into that night of the championship, they didn't have a top 10 class. Every team from 2002 until previously Indiana had at least 2 top 10 classes in the last 4 years. Miami had 2 of them. So what did they do? I mean, well, first off, the age of the players, I think, makes a big difference. The fact that they had guys that were older, I think 40-something players were between the age of 22 and 25. Cignetti is, showing himself to be way ahead of the curve on most coaches, continuity in their staff. And then they were able to really identify and find a quarterback in Mendoza that was just heads and shoulders better than everybody else in the right system and the right makeup and the right culture. And I don't know that you can just refabricate that. But fans will look at that, to your point, and say, wait a minute, if Indiana can do it, surely to God we can do it. And it does put coaches on a shorter leash, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, outside of the SEC, we saw that the Big Ten has won 3 national championships in a row. Big 12 with Texas Tech this year made a push. Any conference out there that you think, wow, they've got money, and you get someone like Mark Cuban excited or other people excited, the money can come. But one thing about Mark Cuban, he didn't get all that money by being irresponsible with his money. There's got to be accountability on and contracts with teeth in them.
Yeah, in terms of conferences, you mentioned Texas Tech. If they were a quarterback away this year from being a legit contender, and I think again next year, just with the returning quarterbacks the Big Ten's going to have, I think the Big Ten will be the best conference at the top again next year. But I don't expect the SEC to move off of still being the number 1 conference.
All right, Jake, let's look at some of the top quarterbacks coming back in the SEC. Is the Byron Browne from South Florida and 13 or 14 other players from the Auburn Bulls? We talked about that last week. But Browne, 3,000 plus yards, passing, 1,000 plus rushing. Those are big numbers. Regardless of the conference they play in, they ought to carry forward, because Alex Golesh, if he's one thing, he's a quarterback football recruiting savant. His father was a truck driver for Little Caesars Pizza. He grew up in Brooklyn after coming over here from Russia. I think Auburn has some upside, and I think their portal class is 12th in the country. But On3 did a ranking. When you take away all the losses, they put him at 63rd. Can you make sense out of that?
Yeah, look, first off, I like Alex Golesh a lot. And the ranking is 63rd. That's 63rd. What was that ranking again?
That was On3 took Auburn's number 12 portal ranking, and then they took all the players they lost, like Cam Coleman, like Deuce Knight, which, by the way, sorry, guys, you went 5-7 back-to-back. You know what? You didn't do anything. And frankly, I'm not going to miss you at all because you never did anything. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be a composite ranking, basically. That's taking, the guys coming in versus the guys going out. Yeah. Just kind of the churn and the attrition there. So, take all that off the table. I like Alex Golesh. What we've seen, you look at and I know this is a different deal. Charles Huff comes from, Marshall to Southern Miss. Yeah. Very similar situation, brings a lot of his players. They turned that thing around. Now, obviously, they weren't a national player. They went bowling. They were competitive in the Sun Belt. You look at Kurt Cignetti, brought his players, James Madison, JMU. They were competitive. We've seen this model done before. So I would expect Auburn to have a shot in the arm for sure. Byron Browne, I would think, is going to be a great player in the SEC when you start looking at other teams too. And I expect Auburn to bounce back. Oklahoma is one I think that you got to watch just because they've had a really good portal class. John Mateer's coming back. What does he look like as a healthy quarterback, coming back? Arch Manning, of course. You look at Lane Kiffin and bringing in the Arizona State quarterback. I'm not a big believer in, what's going on in South Carolina. I mean, Lenore Sellers is a good player. But again, there's really good quarterback play. Let's see what happens in Oxford, with Trinidad Chambliss. And then, you start looking at places like Texas A&M and Arkansas. So I think there's some really good quarterbacks in the league. Where the Big Ten, though, oddly has beaten the SEC is at the line of scrimmage. It's crazy to think that Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan have had better line of scrimmage play than the Southeastern Conference teams, but they have. The SEC's got to get that back.
Oh, that's a great point. Offensive line takes about 2 years to put together. Defensive line, it's quicker. Look at the twos and the threes that used to be stockpiled in the SEC. They're starting somewhere else now for the most part. That seems to be the case. How do you stop it?
Yeah, that's the problem. The SEC used to have so much depth at these offensive line and defensive line positions, but now they go and transfer to these other schools and start, and by year 3, they're first-round pick. And I think you saw perfectly this year, Miami and Indiana got to the national championship by controlling and dominating both offensive lines and defensive lines, and that kind of set the blueprint, I think, moving forward.
Well, Mark Fletcher, Jake, he's a hell of a running back. He looks big and tall when he runs like Lacey does at Ole Miss, Kewan Lacey. But man, Mario Cristobal, 86-90 offensive lineman, won 2 national championships in 87 and 89 as a player. I don't see Miami doing anything but getting better. They are it's true. They never disappeared. I mean, they've always been there, but you can't also say the ACC is great because one of their teams played for the national championship, because top to bottom, the ACC is hemorrhaging in football and basketball too.
No, they really are. And, the thing with Miami to watch, and I don't think Miami's going backwards either, is, they're going to have skill position players. What do they do? They're going to have big linemen. What do they do at quarterback? Darian Mensah just decommitted, or he just jumped in the transfer portal at Duke. And when he did that, I thought, and I said it on my show early in the week, I said, this is interesting. The guy signed a 2-year deal. Does he not have to honor this contract? Well, Here comes Duke. They filed a lawsuit yesterday against Darian Mensah about this. Now, I don't pretend to know how these contracts work, especially, we don't hear a lot about how the contracts are made. So can Miami buy this contract out? What happens? But Miami is looking again to circumvent the portal, to bring in a guy like Mensah, to stay in this game. But yeah, Miami's not going anywhere. And again, from the national stage, follow the money. I mean, that's really kind of where we're at, right? So Miami, big time money. They're not going anywhere. Oregon, Texas Tech, all the Texas schools. I mean, think about this. Texas Tech, Texas A&M, even SMU. All of these schools have a lot of cash to throw around. Yes, to your point, though, Miami, they're not going anywhere.
All right, and talking to Bartu about Oregon, you lose Will Stein, your offensive coordinator, to Kentucky, and he signed 3 of the top 4 portal offensive linemen in the country. And then Tosh Lupoy going to Cal Berkeley. So you've lost your offensive and defensive coordinators. And I agree with Dave. Dan Lanning did the next man up, buddy hires. Buddy hires will get your ass fired, Oakley. You know that. Jake knows it. Brendan, everybody watching this show knows it. Watch out for Oregon. I mean, Matt Dean will be on tomorrow. His son Tyler's on that staff. You better be careful of buddy hires, Oak.
Yeah, I agree. But I think Oregon saved themselves. I don't know why Dante Moore came back. I thought he was a shoe-in to be the number 2 pick. And I think he will not be the number 2 pick next year with how stacked the draft class is. But I think Oregon should be set up over the next 2 years, like Dante Moore next year. Then they convince Dylan Raiola to come and sit and then start the next year. I think they've got too much money and just too much care to win to fall off as a program right now.
You really think Dylan Raiola will stay somewhere that long? He kind of reminds me of a dragonfly on a lily pad in a swamp.
I think he went to 5 high schools, so maybe not.
Well, but wait a minute, Jake. This just in. Hold on. TJ Finley is considering 7 schools in 7 years. Jake, how did that happen? How did we let him get away with that?
I throw it back on the NCAA. I mean, you go back to, the NCAA is the one that opened this door in 2021 when they put the 1-sheet document out. I'll never forget it. 5 or 6 or 7 bullet points on here's what we're going to do. And it wasn't a whole lot to it. And then they opened this Pandora's box. They wanted everybody to take the red or blue pill, and people chose the blue pill. And here we are. And there's no enforcement from the NCAA. You don't hear a whole lot about it from the NCAA. They keep talking about enforcement. They create this NIL Go. they're doing a little bit to try to just, look busy. But the NCAA is how we got here. And, again, you look at some of the stuff going on in basketball, and you look at John Calipari being very open about, what's going on in college basketball, the fact that, now potentially players can come back from pros. And, if you've got – look, there has got to be – and I can't remember who said it. It was either Rhett Lashley at SMU or another coach this past week said, hey, look, if we don't have reform pretty darn quick, this thing's about to get really ugly, because the deeper we go down the hole in this, the uglier it gets. It's almost like you're going into, a city with a ward that's just, it's full of crime. And the deeper you go into that city, the worse it's going to get. That's the way it is with this. And there's no reinforcement. There's no, protocol for agents. It's an absolute crap show, between now and the time we get to actual Saturdays. Saturdays are fun. The games are great. But outside the lines and the games and the way we're putting this thing together, there's got to be better reinforcement.
Yeah, my recommendation to all the people out there, take you some of these chill gummies. I took one this morning. Makes me calm, okay? So, Oakley, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we gotta in the NFL. You don't see these Dorian Mensah situations where the contracts are set in stone when you sign the contracts. And for Dorian Mensah, we saw this with Damon Williams from Washington. How do you leave and then come back, walk into that locker room, and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a captain and lead this team again"? That's just never going to work.
No, it's not. And Oakley's only what, 20?
19.
19. Very smart, wise beyond his years. But he's got great parents, great family. But he's smart. I'm going to tell you, Jake. There's so much to talk about. And when you come on here next Wednesday, we're just going to keep. And I feel my voracious eater. I feel like we're like a bunch of great white sharks or tiger sharks when they throw a half horse carcass out of the boat to us. There's so much to tear apart with college football. And before you go and let people know how they can follow you, because you put out so much great work and so much content every day on your show, and you got a great producer down in Jackson, Mississippi. Tell people something if they're just on the edge, about to jump. I can't take it anymore. As an engineer, you love ESPs, easily solvable problems. And you don't want to have too many swags, too many scientific wild ass guesses. So give them some parting optimism that only you can do.
Dudley, I'm going to leave you with this. Hello, good morning. And maybe you can answer this better than me. Here's the deal. It's going to fix itself one way or the other. Yeah. And it will. I mean, the system will fix itself one way or the other. Either we're going to bankrupt a bunch of people, and I'm talking about universities, and then they'll settle this thing out, or the adults in the room, which are your college commissioners, your Greg Sankeys, your Tony Petittis, the guys of that ilk, they will fix this thing, or the NFL will eventually have to come in here and fix it as well. And I've seen some calls for that as well. I'm sure you guys have too, probably out on, from administrators and coaches. It will fix itself. The market will settle out. And at some point, this thing will, we'll get to a sense of calm in this. Hey, get me on X at Jake Wim. I'll be on today 3 to 6 here in Central Mississippi, ESPN Radio 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming, or 105.9 The Zone. We're streaming on thezone1059.com. Guys, always appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks more than you know for your time as well. Have a great day.
Take care.
I need to run too.
All right, Oak, time to go to class. Maintain that 4.5. All right, Oak, you actually go to class, unlike the athlete students.
That's right. Yeah, the athlete students. Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
All right, you bet. Be careful. Thanks for being on. Dudley Dawson. I texted Ryan Silverfield before we came on the air today. Hopefully he's watching. I also talked to Jim and Pat McClellan last night over in Little Rock. I'm going to go over to Little Rock next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, and then go to Hot Springs for a big gathering. Chuck Dicus, former executive director of he followed Tim Horton, my man's father, Harold, is executive director of the Razorback Foundation. So I've been getting all these emails. It's a big Sigma Nu function at the Hot Springs Country Club. I just wonder if Hot Springs' most famous resident, I like mustard and good to me. Mm-hmm. You think Billy Bob Thornton, maybe if he's not filming Landman, will come to Hot Springs, but I'm looking forward to going over there. And I said, Ryan Silverfield, one of the things about him for you to know, in Memphis, his players every week, he had them go down to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. My niece is a nurse in Neo ICU there. She said they're everywhere. And it got to the point he didn't have to remind them they wanted to go. I think you got you a special coach. I love this guy. I've watched him work with the corporate people, the way he works the portal, and he is in the office at 4:15 in the morning. He's got 11-month-old twin daughters. He's motivated. The first day on the job, he pulls 4 of the top 6 kids in the state. Kind of tell us what's going on there. Latest news from Arkansas. And Vince Ferrara, I see him checking in, the checkerboard orange and white on the banks of the Tennessee River, Neyland Stadium. But Dudley, it's an awesome time of the year because we got a lot of time to talk about what we're going to do, and we don't have to back it up until late August.
Yeah, the awesome part is that the portal's closed now, so this thing has slowed down a little bit. But I tell you what, the Coach Silverfield came in with a plan. He's got a message. I'm not denigrating the former staff, but I'm saying that they're appealing to the fans and communicating better with them. So I think that he's got a good thing going here to this point.
Vince, what's going on at Tennessee right now? It's the off season. You start looking the after action review. You start breaking down tape from every game. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Is it fair to say, as we referenced in the earlier conversation with Oakley and Jake Wimberly, had Tennessee won that Georgia game, how different their season would have been? True or false? And I'm talking on a positive side.
Yeah, I think so. And then everything else after that could have gone in very different directions based on the results of that, because then you have a different place in where you're at and for the season. So I think it's so early in the season. It's such a wild card in how the season could have gone. I don't think you can just say, make that kick, you make the playoffs, or you don't fire your DC. It's hard to know. Sometimes you have success in one area and then you go off the road in another. But it could have very well gone very differently if you get that result against a quality team. So, yeah, one of the questions was going into the offseason is, how would Josh Heupel in Tennessee respond to what happened? Will he get it? Will he be willing to change? And clearly he has in what he has done. Made the move with new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, brought in 2 new staff members. And then, Rob, I think the most important thing happened yesterday for Tennessee.
I just saw your notes. I was going to say, please tell. This is big news.
Yeah, Tennessee hired Indiana strength and conditioning coach in Derek Owings. He was with Cignetti not only there at Indiana the last couple of years, but he was with him at James Madison. Elijah Surratt, wide receiver for Indiana, said he's probably the biggest reason why I followed Sig and the other players and staff members to Indiana, because of the relationship and how great a job he did with him at James Madison. Fernando Mendoza has credited Derek Owings as well in making him more physical and stronger. And you saw how important that was in his touchdown run there in the fourth quarter. Yep. It was unbelievable. Curt Cignetti has praised Derek Owings. He was one of the top 5 paid strength and conditioning coaches last year. USC tried to hire him away, and he stayed in Indiana, and that paid off for him, able to get a national championship. And now Tennessee, in hiring him away from Indiana, has made him the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the country at like $1.2 million per year. Just massive money. But you know what? These guys are worth it. Look at Indiana's physicality, being undersized at the line of scrimmage and some other positions. But you wouldn't know it based on how they play, how physical they are. He's very much into the sports science elements of it. I think that's very similar to Tennessee basketball strength and conditioning coach in Gary Maidenwald, and they always develop the bodies and the skill sets of basketball players under Rick Barnes. So I imagine those two will have a lot of common and link up. And this team, honestly, I think they had group of 5 strength and conditioning, to be real. I don't think it was good enough for them. And the way they played in the fourth quarter and their inability to finish games is, proof of that. And I think a big indicator of how your strength and conditioning program is going is that. And then something else Josh Heupel mentioned in his press release was injury prevention, and that he specializes in injury prevention. That availability, that durability. Durability is another word that Heupel used in his release that we don't always see head coaches talk about. It's a factor today. You gotta have your guys available, and Tennessee didn't have key guys available this year. And even going into the college football playoff, fans made a big deal about it. I don't know that it was the be all end all, but I don't think it was nothing. Before the college football playoff game against Ohio State, a number of players ran out on the field without their shirts on, and you're like, ooh, really? So it didn't crush the eye test to a lot of people. And, the decision making to do that was questionable to begin with. But then you're like, all right, what are these guys doing? So it's more than just your physique for big guys. But, man, there's strength and conditioning coaches, Dudley knows this, they spend more time with the players than the coaches. It's a year-round thing. Yeah. And especially with all the resources and information that's available to you, you got to be great in that area. And Tennessee has been willing to spend with their DC and Jim Knowles, and they've been willing to spend with the strength and conditioning coach and getting the best off of the national championship from Indiana.
I've always been fascinated by sports science. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the bigger things that over the past decade, maybe 2 decades, has made a push. And I know being here at Arkansas, I think probably, I don't know, 10 to somewhere between 10 and 15 head coaches I've been around football. I'd have to go back and count them because it's like 6 since 2010. But some of their best hires and some of their worst hires have been strength and conditioning coaches. I don't think that this makes a great point. I don't think a lot of fans understand how much time they do spend with them. Not only are they doctors, but they're counselors of such, because you spend so much time with them. I know guys that would go talk to their strength coach before they'd go talk to their head coach or their position coach, because they didn't want to be viewed as weak. But the strength coach, you don't worry about that there.
Well, I'm with y'all. It's a great force multiplier, and both of y'all are bringing up so many important parts of a football program, basketball, whatever. They do spend more time with the strength coach than anyone, because it's year round. You go home for a couple of weeks in the summer in between the sessions and all, which you've got to do to avoid mental burnout. Well, that's a given.
Let me ask you what DJ Lagway thought about the strength and conditioning coach in the offseason this year, if that made a difference. I mean, they're often referred to as the head coach in the offseason, right? Because they get all the access, right? So, as reported right here on the show, Rob, that we found that out, a piece of information. So, training in the offseason is everything. You can get hurt. They can get motivated or unmotivated. So, I think when you're talking about that, that's why I want to. John Summerall is very, old school in that way. I don't mean to bring up Florida, but I think we're talking about today the SEC as a whole and how they start to get better. To start, bringing home some hardware. I think a lot of teams understand that they got to be bigger, stronger, and faster. You got a tougher schedule. These kinds of things, Vince. Strength and conditioning right now, probably a big positive. From my perspective, because I've watched the team for over a decade just suffer and try to figure it out again.
Ask Nick Saban how important strength and conditioning was to their championship run, their dynasty run in college football. Even Tony Vitello, who's built a monster now in Tennessee baseball that Josh Elander's taken over, his second hire after Frank Anderson, pitching coach, was Quentin Eberhardt, who's taken to the Giants as well. And he just all the time talked about how important, influential, motivational those guys are. And then you have to gear the best ones. They have a different plan for all the players in each different position. You can't treat everybody the same cookie cutter, and you have to have motions and training for what helps you translate onto what you're doing in your specific sport, as opposed to just a general workouts and getting big and things like that. Just really specific, and that's where the sports science can come into play also.
I think you also have to have a strength coach that can tell the head coach no. One of the bad things that happened during the Chad Morris era here as head coach.
A lot.
Yeah. He came in and he said, I want these offensive linemen to be like 285. And I was like, I don't, you probably know more than I do, but I don't think that's the thing we should do here in the SEC. And they were just beat up front. And when Sam Pittman came in, he had to redefine the whole look, feel, and purpose of the offensive line. Sometimes he got it right, sometimes he didn't, obviously. But you had a bunch of 285-pound guys running around here trying to block 320, 330-pound guys. And strength and conditioning can do you so much, but you also have to be big enough to be in the fight.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is the strength coach he knows those players. If they're not mentally tough, they're going to break down. And I agree with you. I agree. I mean, I don't look at guys' bods, but I mean, Audrey and I were watching them when they ran out on the field before the Ohio State game. A lot of those guys
check out dudes, but I was checking them out.
But I mean, they were shirtless, and I'm like, there's a lot of guys that look like Homer Simpson out there. I mean, it's like, Homer's ooh boy, or what's that guy's name at the bar? The guy, I can't remember his name, Ralph or something like that. But anyway, Vince, you talked also another story, and Dudley, I'm going to go back and forth because y'all are true grit journalists. You do this nonstop, and this is what I love. So I'm going to throw it to Vince to tell another story, which is very big for Tennessee, and Dudley, throw out another one because you're working on a story that you and I were talking about the other day. I'm not going to say it unless you've done it, but maybe you could talk about that one between those coaches and all. But Vince, go ahead.
Well, we'll maybe we get to the portal later because Tennessee had a huge weekend in terms of the portal additions, and those were very important, including finding a quarterback. So I'll tease that for later. But another big return or addition for Tennessee was a return in Arion Carter, who's starting linebacker, all SEC from Tennessee. He had declared for the NFL draft. Paperwork was in the NFL sent a release about the special eligibility that he was getting to enter the NFL draft early because he was eligible. And at the last minute, because he's still been trying to recover from a turf toe that he had, he wasn't getting the feedback from the NFL, doesn't seem, and the injuries were a concern. He wasn't going to be able to go through the pre-draft process, improving how healthy he was. So that brings your stock down. There's questions there for the NFL. So he decided to pull his name out of the NFL draft, return to college. But he had such a short window of time to do so. Tennessee had already signed a linebacker from Penn State, their Mike linebacker, Amari Campbell, with Jim Knowles. He didn't know how he fit in. He had to get into class. So what he did was he entered the transfer portal. It was reported on Friday, the last day that the portal was open. So he came back, but he entered the transfer portal. And everybody's like, whoa, what is going on here? So he needed to do that to buy himself some time. Still leave the door open for Tennessee. Tennessee talked with him, stayed in contact with him. And apparently they did want him back to be a part of this linebacking room. And so then he announced on social media on Sunday that he was returning to Tennessee after briefly being in the transfer portal just to buy himself some time and keep him from having options. Because if he didn't and missed that window, and then he finds out after the fact that he doesn't fit in Tennessee's plans, then you're screwed. So it really was a smart thing to do temporarily for him. So that makes sense. And now that linebacking room, pretty deep. Now, they needed to play better last year, but I think they will under Jim Knowles. And they brought in Amari Campbell. They've got Edwin Spillman, who played pretty well in place of Carter last year. T-Lander is a former starter. He's in that room. That's 4 experienced guys. 2 freshmen that played a fair amount last year in Perlotti and Harmon. They brought in 2 stud high 4-star guys at linebacker, including Braden Rouse, who's been outstanding in all the All-Star games. So it's a pretty deep room now. with the return of Carter and how Jim Knowles will use him. Very intriguing. Lot of excitement about Arion Carter, a starter coming back to join this revamped defense under Jim Knowles.
Well, big news, folks. Tennessee fans, whoever you are a fan of, you can catch Vince every day, 99.1, the sports animal in Knoxville. I've got the app on my phone, Vince. I put a lot of apps on here. I listen wherever I am. I just like to listen. Food City, the Tennessee Vols, the Vol Network. Listening to those games, but folks, wherever you are, got a lot. Wayne Hittinger is listening and watching right now. He played at Tennessee, a friend of mine from the Touchdown Club. John David Badur, Kurt Watson's in the Touchdown Club. You know, Kurt Watson, nicknamed the Crossville Comet, great Tennessee running back, one of their top 7 or 10 in history. I didn't know this till I was talking to him at a Touchdown Club meeting this past fall. Also was a Blue Angel in the Navy. He flew. He was a Blue Angel fighter pilot, a true badass. He's such a gentleman, such a great guy. Dudley, what's going on inside Arkansas that only you know, but you're about to tell the rest of the world? Don't you love it on radio when they go, look, just between us? You're going, it's not really just between us, but what's going on inside Arkansas, Dudley?
A couple of things. Number one, I'm trying to do a series on coaches who have been here before and had to revamp the roster. Of course, it's different these days with the portal and all that. But when you come into a program, and a lot of coaches have come into Arkansas's program, as I said, over the last couple of decades, I'm trying to work on a story on how they were able to be successful or how they were not. What they did that did not work well. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Trying to get a hold of a couple of guys. But I've never thought I'm the smartest man in the room, even if there's only one of us. And but what
you are one of them always.
What I do is try to go find research and do stuff and kind of try to find people who are supposed to be smart and let them tell me why they think this. One of the things that I try to take into account is I try not to blow smoke, and lead people down the path and say everything's fine, like Niedermeyer in National Lampoon's Animal House.
Keep moving along.
Yeah, but they had nothing to see here. But the thing that I take into account about this group of 64 new faces that Arkansas is going to have coming in here when you count high school, college, and the portal kids, is that the On3 algorithm, which takes the players going out and the players going in and how your talent level improved. Well, as of last night when I was going to bed, they were ninth. First, ain't been ninth in anything except players transferring out in the long. And so I think that's probably a good assessment of the level of talent that was here and the level of talent that's coming in. No way am I going to tell you you're going from 2-10 to 10-2. But I do think you're headed in the right direction now, and it was important to make a move. I understand that Coach Pittman's really enjoying life now too. I would too if I'd made $39 million over the last 6 years and get 6 point, coming. But he did. He soldiered on and did a good job to get this thing back on its feet because it was laying down on the ground when the Boris regime was over.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool what you just said about. The portal. Last year, Ryan Silverfield, 71 new guys, high school
78.
and college in the portal.
Yeah, it said 78. So
yeah, and I had lunch with Dr. Hardgrave, the president of the University of Memphis. We went to lunch last Tuesday, and we were talking about, he misses Silverfield. He said, he knew. I mean, I'm just telling you, they miss him. But they're pulling for him. You cannot help but love the guy. He is so good at talking to the corporate people. I mean, he was so tight with the Smith family. Those of you that don't know Frederick W. Smith, the night he died back in July, I said, they need to name it Frederick W. Smith International Airport in Memphis. They did that like within a day or two. He's so close with that family. He's so close. But what he's great at is pulling people together. And for Arkansas, wow, that On3 ranking, Vince, do you have that for Tennessee? That's guys that you brought in and then guys that you got going out. I guess it encapsulates and combines high school, portal, gets, and losses.
Well, they do. They have a separate ranking for the portal as opposed to high school. I do like the way On3 does it. And Dudley, you're right. Arkansas is still ninth here this morning. Tennessee is 19th, but Tennessee came a long way to get to 19 from where they were because they were slow out of the gate. And Tennessee has 23 outgoing and 18 incoming. So that's Tennessee's averaged about 7 portal guys per year. So for them to add 18, that's a big number for them. Now they got to hit on a lot more of them, in the end. And then Arkansas, we've seen that from them before and being very active. I mean, 36 outgoing, 36 incoming. And Dudley, you can probably verify this. For Tennessee, their numbers are just scholarship guys. I like the way they do it with just the scholarship guys. There's some walk-ons here and there that can impact, but for the most part, those are the numbers to know. That pretty accurate for Arkansas?
Yeah, and if you're going to be a successful head coach, as you were saying, Ryan Silverfield that is good with relationships and has good messaging and the right narrative stuff. But you also got to be able to tell people no. And he made some tough decisions on kids. There's been a couple of stories about that, and I'm not saying whether he was right or wrong to do that, but you've got to have the courage to do that if you're going to try to take a 2-10 and revamp it. You have to say, I just need to be better at this position, and that's what he's done in plenty of places, and that's why they're at that 9 ranking.
Yeah, well, those numbers, I think it's critically important that you take that On3 number because you have to consider what you lost. I mean, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I mean, I call it the tectonic plates theory. What we do in the SEC, there are reverberations in the Big 12, in the Pac 2.5, 8.5, the Big 10, the ACC, whatever. I also believe the free market will figure all this stuff out because you can't be stupid forever and survive as a species. That's just the way it goes. The dodo bird, gone. The passenger pigeon, Martha, in 1914 at the Cincinnati Zoo when she died, that was it. How did we lose passenger pigeons? Bad game management. And the ivory-billed woodpecker, the Bachman's warbler, the ivory-billed, by the way, Dudley, does not exist.
Yeah. He was hanging out over there by me, apparently. So.
Well, by the way, when you go to Brinkley, Arkansas on I-40, we hunted over there for years, Brinkley and Wheatley, the Metroplex. You go to Gene's Barbecue, and Gene would always be, he was like Otis Campbell. He was a great guy, the owner. But they had, when the ivory-billed woodpecker story broke, their menu was changed. And it had an ivory-billed woodpecker flying in a Cache River swamp. And they had a burger called the double meat bacon cheddar cheeseburger ivory-billed woodpecker burger. And if you ate the whole thing, it was ginormous. You didn't have to pay for it.
Rob, you're the best I've ever seen at this. You'll tell a story and you'll say, I went through Grubbs and had, lunch at the Blue Jay, and here's all they have. Then I got to Clifton, and, I had dinner, and then I got to Walnut Ridge and Hoxie. And no wonder you're not 300 pounds, man.
Well, all I can say is this. Vince Ferrara, Mama Ferrara is down in Tampa. Both of y'all know your stuff. And we're building this network. We're going to be building and adding more shows. Y'all both got the green light because you're putting out so much great content. And but I do. You have food. I do love to eat. That's why I exercise so much. But, I mean, there's nothing like great food. Can't beat great Italian. I don't think you can beat the Italians for having a good time and great food. Italians and Cajuns, nobody loves life more. My dad said nobody loves life more than the Italians. You just go to Rome. And all the beautiful women just loving on you. Vince, before you go.
You should just try producing, Rob. Here's your freaking hamburger, Rob. Ivory Bill Woodpecker or whatever the hell it is.
It's the Ivory Bill Woodpecker.
Well, there's one. I got to get this one. It's got the damn, the
onion
logo.
rings.
Yeah.
Rob needs a telestrator for food references.
Oh, dude. Rob needs more than a telestrator. He needs a team of telestrator operators.
Right.
Hey,
I often don't keep my mouth shut. I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this moment right here.
well, I'll just say this. You go to Gene's Barbecue on I-40. There's pictures of Bill Clinton, everybody famous. It's kind of like Gene's Barbecue. Gene will be front and center, kind of like that time that Uncle Jed was running for mayor of Beverly Hills, and Jethro had the banner that said in all caps, Jethro Bodine says, Vote for J.D. Clampett in the bottom right-hand corner.
And the best part is it always
There it
references
is.
like a early '80s some sort of show or Switchblade will come in.
Sling Blade.
Here's your logo of the Ivory Bill Woodpecker burger. It doesn't look like that. It's that hard to eat. Just so you know.
It looked a lot bigger when I saw it, and I've seen it many times.
That's what she said.
Wow.
My new safe word is woodpecker.
Well,
I'm
Woody
not touching that one, Dudley. I'm not touching it.
All right, Dudley, you started it.
Too
And by
many
the way,
jokes.
we speak now posthumously of Blue Jays. It closed. Chris Aiken, my friend, web-footed kennel in Jonesboro. It broke his heart because now they have to cook their own food after they get through from hunting. Guys, let me tell y'all something. This is great stuff, and it keeps me motivated. And both of y'all are putting out content on Twitter, Facebook.
Like it's your job
YouTube,
and everything.
Yeah, it is your job.
You're
But
putting out content like it's your job.
And I commend you for it because it's so much good stuff. I got so many Tennessee and Arkansas friends that go, Brown, I love watching your show. Like Teddy Hughes down in Wolf Bay, Alberta, Alabama, Orange Beach. Teddy, great American, probably prayed the rosary, honestly, before this show. I love this guy. Johnny Haygood down in Montgomery. Tell people before you go in 30 seconds or less something positive about what's going on in college athletics. I'll start Dudley first and then Vince, and I'll let y'all go.
Arkansas's baseball team has started playing and scrimmages, and they're doing it in 30-degree weather. It keeps
Inside. They're inside.
you alive. They weren't last Friday.
No? Always that coach.
Yeah.
Well, another thing, and Dudley and Vince, everybody in this, a lot of our people that are listening, we have people that watch. Where's Gator George out in Portland? I missed that guy. Want him to come back. But we're expecting some big snow.
Like
But
a 3-hour delay.
Vince, what else we got going on up in Tennessee that, like, hey, that strength coach story is, to me, the biggest hire in the offseason in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, and Tennessee is spending money, which is what fans wanted them to do, and respond and change and evolve and do it with urgency. And hiring Jim Knowles and an Indiana strength coach going a long way towards that. Tennessee got a quarterback in the portal from Colorado. Now, wasn't a big name guy, but at least it's a third body in the room, and they needed to check that box. And then, baseball is about 3 weeks away, 3 weeks from Friday. Tennessee opening up a renovated Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So that'll be really exciting for fans with another, top 10, top 15 team in Tennessee led by Josh Elander.
And look, I promise you, and that's my fault, Vince, from now on, I know you wanted to talk Tennessee hoops. We're going to talk more SEC basketball. It's not last year, but we're going to make it work. Somehow we're going to do that. Anything you can say about Tennessee basketball positive?
Well, they had the midweek off, so maybe they have a chance to get better this week.
They won me some money on Kalshi this weekend, I'll tell you what, when they pooped the bed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was rough.
I love it. Indian Pass Pirate, by the way. Apalachicola oysters are now available. Woo! I love
Well, that's a big
gumbo.
deal because those estuaries have been closed for a minute. And if you need any more smart-ass facts about Florida, I know them.
Hey, and I love it. That's over in Apalachicola, not too far from the Big Bend. Look, guys, thank you so much for sharing time with us. We'll see you next week. Let's say something real quick about Landers Ford, Memphis.com, Poplar and Houston Levy, and also their second location. That's their fourth in the Memphis area at Mount Moriah and I-240. Y'all all remember it, the old Dobbs Ford location. They are the best people, best corporate partner I've ever seen. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. All your car, truck, and SUV needs. Great service department. They're there for you all of the time. And they're right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the square in Collierville. Hey, Filson Gear, Barber Gear, all your boots. Open every day except Sunday, 10 to 6. Get out there. We got big snow coming. Get your gear. Get ready. HempForPros.com. These gummies absolutely work. I took a chill this morning. It calms me down. And also, Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. And My Town Roofing, people, better get your roof squared away. And also, most often, the base of price released among us. Apalachicola oysters are now available. Woo! It's going to be a great day. Thanks for watching. For EP Rob.